magical. Firstly, the Emirates and the standout tie from the FA Cup third round didn't disappoint, as Arsenal and Manchester United produced a thriller. United triumphed on penalties despite playing an hour with 10 men. Arsenal once again were made to pay for wayward finishing, and their problems were compounded by Gabriel Jesus going off with a serious-looking injury. We managed to score. And then I felt that in that moment, we were able to improve with the ball. But with the send-off, it was really hard on us. And then we suffered altogether, defending very well with some opportunities from Arsenal. The players were really tired, but I felt since the first minute that today was our day. And I felt also a connection with our fans, our staff. It was a very good day for us in that aspect. We need to improve the way we play football. Well, for United, there were redemption stories for Joshua Zirkzee and Altay Bayındır. Zirkzee scored the winning penalty after only 2 weeks ago he was substituted in the first half against Newcastle and jeered by United fans. While Bayındır's poor punch led to Arsenal's goal, then made up for it with 2 penalty saves. Your life as a footballer has cycles and moments, and sometimes in 1 week, your life can change, and you can see Altay. Against Tottenham, everybody was like pointing the finger for Altay, and I understand that. And today he was their hero also. Joshua a few weeks ago had a small problem with our fans, and today every time he's going on the pitch, you feel the support from the fans, and then he has the last penalty. So the life is like that, and you have to continue humble to work every day. Your time will come, and so it's really important for them. Not just for them, but for his teammates. Okay, we'll look at the Arsenal point of view in a few minutes on the football show, but to the victor, the spoils. Let's turn our attention to Manchester United. So down to 10, but still a draw after 120 minutes. Following on from that draw with Liverpool, we said they needed to back it up. Did they do just that? Are we really seeing improvements here? Yeah, I think that's what we said. It was great doing it against Liverpool. Can they then do it against Arsenal? Can they continue to keep doing it? And I think what we saw was a real strong defensive display. I thought they were very well organized off the ball. The shape was very good. I thought they worked really hard and, made it difficult for Arsenal. I suppose that helps with time on the training ground. They've had that period where Amorim can work with his players and work on the shape, so that's bound to help. I think also maybe having a consistent lineup in terms of not chopping and changing. We saw a lot of players in and out. We were saying, was he sort of trialing players, or was that due to the amount of games that they had and he had to keep changing? So the fact that now you could probably name 9 or 10 out of his starting 11 he wants. I'm not saying that's going to be his starting 11 going forward. I think he certainly will bring in players that he wants to fit into that system. But at the moment, the players that he feels are right at this moment in time, you could probably say. So I think that helps with connections then, doesn't it? So yeah, I think you've got to praise how strong they were defensively. I think the thing is now moving forward, you look, I think the play in Southampton next, what are they going to be like in an attacking sense? So if they've got to then take the game to teams, how are they going to be then? I suppose that's the next question. But from a defensive perspective, and obviously the result, the fact that they're into the next round, I think is certainly positives to take. Yeah, let's talk about Altay Bayındır, shall we? And his post-match interview would have been music to Amorim's ears, because effectively what he was saying is, yeah, I don't play very much, but this is Manchester United. You have to be ready when you're called upon. He made that key penalty save in normal time. Considering how little he has played, how impressed was he? Yeah, I think, like he says, though, you've always got to be prepared and you've got to train properly, be ready for those situations.
So there's an element of luck at times with a penalty save as well, but then there's the other side of it, where there is your homework, where you look at what the player who's taken the penalty does and what his record is, and Odegaard had a decent enough record. I think he scored 3 out of 3 before that penalty yesterday. So yeah, it's a really good save from him. I think there's been sections of maybe Manchester United fans who've wanted to see a little bit more of him. I know he made a mistake previously the last time he played, but then when you've got the consistent run of games, you can showcase what you can do in more long term. So I think it's something that maybe Amorim will look at a little bit more closely, because I think Altay has been at fault for a lot in recent weeks and hasn't covered himself in too much glory. Yeah, what about Joshua Zirkzee? When he stood up to take that final penalty, I don't know what he was thinking, but I was looking between my fingers considering what had gone before. We've seen him struggle since joining United. How much could this be a turning point? How much does he need this? Yeah, I hope that I was the same as you, and I think unless you're an Arsenal fan, just as a football fan, you just wanted him to do well. You wanted him to score that because of what had happened previously in the Newcastle game where he was took off. Was it 33 minutes I think he was took off, and then what had happened with a section of the fans. So you just wanted him to be successful. I actually thought he did well when he came on. He held the ball up well, he linked play, he worked hard off the ball, and yeah, it's a big moment, isn't it? When all of that's happened, it shows, I suppose, the character of the player, and it just shows how football can change so quickly. You know, one week you're coming off, and it wasn't just him. I think they obviously, Amorim needed to change things because of what was happening in that Newcastle game. Because of how they were getting overrun in the midfield area. But you have to then go, okay, that's happened to me, how do I respond from that? And you know, he certainly responded in the right way. It's now he's the hero, isn't he, scoring the winning penalty. Stephen, you said for so long that United lacked an identity when Ten Hag is, you saying I really don't know what this is. Are we starting to see that, and if so, what are we seeing that indicates that? Yeah, I think we are seeing a little bit of an identity. I don't still think it's one that Manchester United, and I know a lot of Manchester United fans have been buoyed by the last couple of results, and the results against Liverpool and the result yesterday. Nolan touched on it earlier as I spoke about this the other day about the system and how difficult it is to play in. I think the players are starting to adapt to that system, but more so in a defensive way when you try and flip that and then go to an attacking sense. It's very easy when you play three at the back and you play wing backs to drop back into a deep shape, and you can invite pressure onto you because it should be difficult to break that team down, and I think that's what we've seen in Manchester United. Especially yesterday against Arsenal when they do go down to 10 men and they find it difficult to get up the pitch, but it's what's happening at the top end of the pitch. Where's the creativity? What's the ideas going forward? So I know he doesn't have the players yet to perhaps play out the system that he wants to bring in, which is that the 3-4-3 system, but I'm still not convinced by it. I'm still going to put my neck on the line and say I don't like the system, and I'm talking about that from a point of view of playing within that system, and then I've taken a lot of criticism online and social media about this, but there's still an element where you think if you want to win things in this system, and that is ultimately what Manchester United are trying to get back to, is back to competing for the Premier League, from back to competing for trophies, is that's where you're going to be questioned. And people will come at me again and go, yeah, but Bayern Leverkusen did it, it's not the Premier League, it's not as competitive. Look what happened. When they came to Anfield this season, they got battered 4-0 because of the system. Onslaught found faults within the system, and then United fans will say, yeah, but they didn't find those faults in United when they came to Anfield. It's a different game, it's a derby. It's not this normal type of game that you play in week in, week out. There's so much emotion and so much tension in them games. Is that decision making isn't quite at its best. So listen, the last couple of games United fans will be buoyant, they'll be delighted with what they've seen, but let's judge them at the end of the season and where they end up. He didn't like playing in the back three, he hated it, absolutely didn't. I think I've got that after all these years. Okay, Nolan, I mean winning an FA Cup third round tie is lovely. Yeah, I'm getting a draw at Anfield, kind of okay. Yeah, but they're 13th in the table, they're closer to Ipswich in the bottom three than they are points wise to Chelsea in the top four. Yeah, so what is success? Well, what would be considered okay for Amorim between now and May? I suppose it's to see progression, isn't it? It's to see this team develop into the team that Manchester United fans want to see, something that they can maybe believe in and go, okay, this is how we're going to play, this is our identity, which is something that we said for a long period of time. And with Manchester United, we couldn't see how they were moving forward and what the identity was. You can straight away, you know exactly what they're trying to do. So I suppose to see progression in that, maybe the players that they bring in to fit into that system, and yet it's just building. So at the moment we're seeing real solid defensive foundations, so they're building on that. Then it's okay. What can we see that from them in an attacking sense? Because at the moment we are still seeing just those moments of brilliance. You know, the Bruno Fernandes finished at the breakaway, whether it's armored or so. That's what we were saying previously. We were saying, well, they've got moments in an attacking sense, but can we see that consistently? So I think that's probably what Manchester United fans want to see. But I also want to praise, I think, Harry Maguire. I think he's done brilliant, to come into that back three. I think it suits him really well. He loves it, he does, but you could tell, can't you? Yeah, and his performances of De Ligt as well, like that clearance, absolutely, and that's what you're seeing. So you're seeing that. Let's see the attacking sense. So yeah, if they could go and be successful in a corp and just see the progression, I think Manchester United fans will see that as maybe a building. Season for next year. I think this is a really difficult question though, in the fact of when you say what the Manchester United fans expect or what's acceptable is all we keep on hearing, and this is from United fans as well. We don't have the players to play the system, so if you don't have the players to play the system, where do you expect United to finish in the league? Then how do you expect to see United progressing as a team if they don't have their players to play within the system? It's very difficult, isn't it? And then you're going, well, we'll judge them next year when they bring the players in. That's when you effectively should be judging him, because it's very difficult to come in halfway through a season if he doesn't have the players to play the system that he wants to play. Now if he comes in and says, I don't care about the players, it's just about improvements in the system and making sure things get better, they will start to climb the table. But he's going to get rid of quite a lot of these players apparently, so I'm a little bit torn as to how you judge where they're at as a football club. Effectively you're saying it doesn't matter what happens this year, it's all about next year. Then judge me next year when I get my signings in, but then they'll always be, but judge me in the next transfer window and the one after that, because I'm still adding to this, and that's what people are always going to say. And the other thing is, do Manchester United then really invest in that system and bring players in to play in that system to then go, oh actually that hasn't worked? That's another concern I suppose for Manchester United, because we saw what happened with Ten Hag, where Ten Hag was going to go and they then went, oh no, we want you to stay, we'll give you all this money. So again he's brought in the players that he wants that now Amorim doesn't really want. So it's, yeah, what I gathered from that is Steven is arguing bin off the back three and go back four, you're not playing anymore.